Ricardo's Dharma. Chapter 1. Now listen up, class. Don't forget to bring a sack lunch tomorrow for our field trip. Well, we'll have such a wonderful time, Miss Periwinkle called out. Luckily, the end of the school day had finally arrived. The bell rang, and the Ricardo was almost safely out the door when Miss Periwinkle stopped him in his tracks. Aren't you looking forward to our field trip for tomorrow? I'm very excited for you to see the ballet and our tour the opera house. I know you will just love it. Oh yeah, of course I'm excited. Thanks, Miss Periwinkle. I will see you tomorrow. Ricardo forced a smile for his teacher as he walked quickly past her and into the hallway. The truth was, he was much more excited about the playoff soccer match against the Tigers, and the match was going to start in less than 2 hours. Ricardo was the leading scorer on his team, and the playoff game was all that his mind had been occupied with for several days. He reached the front door and headed outside. His fast-paced walk turned into an enthusiastic sprint as he pulled his cap tightly down over his head. "Look out, Tigers! Here we came!" he shouted. Chapter 2. The following morning, Ricardo sat smiling as he remembered the winning goal he had scored at the playoff match. "I knew we would win," he told his mother as she joined him at the breakfast table. "We're going to be the champions this year. I can feel it in my bones." "That's great, dear. Now are you ready? We have to get going." "I agreed to go on a field trip with you and your class since I have the day of work. I think it's wonderful that your teacher is taking you to see the ballet. Cinderella is such a fun story, and besides, not everyone has the opportunity to see all that's happening backstage before the show begins. This is going to be a fabulous day. I can feel it in my bones," she said with a wink of her eye. Ricardo rolled his eyes, then grabbed his backpack and said, "Okay, let's get this over with." Little did he know that this excursion would change his life forever. Chapter 3. As the class entered the opera house, Miss Periwinkle gave their tickets to the man at the counter. He made a call on his tiny black Takai, and soon a tall, skinny man appeared. Max was his name, and he had rosy cheeks and an enormous smile that made it almost impossible for anyone not to like him. With an exuberant wave, he led the class to an expansive space where a variety of strangely dressed people were milling around. The tour guide told the students that these were the stars of the ballet, which Ricardo supposed would explain why everyone was meandering around in tights and slippers. Some were stretching their long legs toward the ceiling, while standing on one foot, and some were turning in circles again and again, arms stretched above their heads. Still others were sitting on the floor, their upper bodies bent incredibly far to one side while they rolled their ankles in circles. They seemed to be focused so intently on what they were doing that they didn't notice anyone around them. Which Ricardo watched, amazed by their concentration. He couldn't have imagined that ballet dancers were so serious about their work, just like a playing warming up before a big game. He thought to himself. Max led the class to the backstage area where all the scenery pieces had been arranged and were now ready for the show. There were brightly colored costumes, and he could hear the orchestra warming up in the background. Everything looked so huge that it made Ricardo feel very small. The stage floor would soon be filled with thrilling, stretching bodies they had just seen in the studio. Ricardo felt the excitement grow even more as the luminous and colorful lights flashed on from the sides of the stage. Wow, this is really cool, he exclaimed to his mother. She smiled and said that she thought so too. Quickly he looked down and stopped smiling. He reminded himself that he was a boy who liked sports, not the ballet. And he looked around wondering if any of the guys had noticed his enjoyment of the field trip. Still safe, he thought. Assured that most everyone had been listening to Max. He heard Miss Periwinkle say that the show was about to begin. Max led them from the backstage area and down the stairs to where they would watch the show. As everyone sat in their places, the lights dimmed and the orchestra began to play. Ricardo couldn't wait for the curtain to open. Chapter 4. That night, Ricardo found it challenging to fall asleep as he lay in bed, remembering the day. Miss Periwinkle was right. It was a cool field trip. He couldn't keep his eyes off the dancers. They were so strong, so athletic, so powerful, and so graceful. Was it possible to be all of those things at once? He remembered being so proud of his heritage when he saw the main names of two Latino dancers. One was even named Ricardo. They seemed to enjoy themselves so much when they were on stage. At the moment, Ricardo decided that he wanted to learn more about ballet. The next morning, he shared his thoughts with his mother. I think we should visit the dance studio and find out how much it would cost to take a few classes. That way you could find out if you really like it or not, she said. Ricardo really wanted to learn how to do all of the amazing things he saw the dancers perform. But what would his friends think? There weren't many boys who took ballet, and he was afraid his friends would poke fun at him. But Ricardo was self-confident. He was comfortable with himself, so he decided he would try a few classes. But He definitely did not want to share his plans with his boss, at least not yet. Over the next few months, Ricardo took several lessons. His interest in dance began to grow, and his instructor told him that he was a natural. Playing sports had made him strong. His strength helped him perform new and difficult steps. He found that ballet was intense and challenging, but when he got something right, it made him feel like he was on top of the world. Little did he know that someday his dance skills would help him in ways he could not have imagined. Chapter 5. One summer afternoon, Ricardo was wandering through the city zoo with his best friend Jack. Jack. They had just finished a great soccer match, winning 5-0. Boy, it just seems like it's impossible for us to lose lately. Our team this year is the best team I've ever seen. I don't want the season to ever end. Judge said. Do you think our championship trophy will be silver or gold this year? Definitely gold, and I hope it is 6 feet tall, replied Ricardo. The boys laughed. They only had two more games. They only had two more games to win to finish up the season as championships, and both were confident that they could pull it off. Ricardo had been busy during the playoffs, but he managed to make it to ballet class 3 nights a week. It had become very important to him, and the better he got at it, the more he knew that he wanted to dance forever.